we're going to bring in Anita Kumar. She's the White House correspondent and associate editor at Politico. So, Anita, let's pick up where Mark left off. As the president's defense team is on the road to continue with truncated arguments as compared to House managers, will this strategy and their argument work in the defense team's favor? And could such brevity, a speedy trial, lead to a wrap by week's end?
Well, you've heard actually a lot of Republican senators say that they wish the House side had been more efficient, so they were looking for shorter arguments. But look, on Monday, they're going to lay out, they're still going to be there for several hours laying out this argument, both that the president didn't do what the House said and also that it's not an impeachable offense. But what you're hearing from senators on both sides is they're pretty much where they were before this trial even started. You know, there's only a couple senators that we don't really know where they stand, but most everyone's exactly where we thought they were about a week ago.
Right now, I want to, if you bear with me, I've got some stats I want to share with everybody. I want to first look at an Axios report on the impact impeachment is having on 2020 fundraisers. Here it is. So the RNC says it has attracted more than 600,000 new donors since September. It also recruited more than 100,000 new volunteers through its anti-impeachment Stop the Madness campaign website. The Biden campaign says its average digital revenue per day more than doubled during impeachment compared to the weeks before. Now, Anita, for further comparison, let's go ahead and rewind to President Clinton's impeachment. His approval ratings shot up from 60% range in early 1998 to 73% during his impeachment in December 1999. That's according to Gallup. So if we get back to present day, President Trump's net approval numbers actually improved in 31 states between September and December, as reported by Axios. They improved by at least 5 points in Iowa, Utah, Maine, Montana, and New Mexico. But President Trump's net approval declined in some key states as well, including Michigan and Texas. So here's my question for you, Anita. Who ends up politically stronger on the other side of impeachment?
Well, it's a great question. It's so interesting to listen to President Trump's numbers. This president hasn't really changed. He has small dips one way or another, up and down. But, I mean, he's really been consistent for 3 years, no matter what happens, what scandal or what, controversy is happening. But it's really interesting what you said about those hardcore supporters, about the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign and others really capitalizing on impeachment. I mean, you've seen them talk about impeachment. You've seen those supporters of theirs really get energized, give them money, donate their time and effort. But what the real question is, what do those people in the middle think? That small group, those independents, moderates that are going to decide really this election. And it's really unclear what they think. The president's team is really capitalizing, really thinking that they are gonna, be tired of this. Every day that this trial is on TV, it's hard to follow. It's too much. They really think people have tuned out, and so they feel like they're gonna win this in the end because people are not paying attention out in the country.
Yeah, but as you know, when the trial ends, the arguments will continue. So who has a better chance of winning in the court of public opinion? Is it the House managers or the president's defense team?
Well, unless something really changes, remember, the president is probably going to be acquitted here. So he's going to go on the campaign trail and talk about how he was vindicated and he won. I thought Adam Schiff on the Sunday show said something very interesting today. He said, that the president can't claim that he's exonerated unless there are witnesses in this trial, because that wouldn't have been a fair trial. And so it's interesting that the Democrats are starting to use that. They know what the president's going to do, and they're starting to use that as a way to say, look, we need to have witnesses in this trial. So, but here, look, it's January. A lot of things are going to change before November. I think a lot of other issues are going to come up, and I think a lot depends on that, particularly things like the economy, and how the president capitalizes on how that's doing. So, there are a lot of questions still to be answered.
And just really quickly, what will you be focusing on this week, Anita?
Well, I'll really be looking to see what the president's team says tomorrow and then into Tuesday if they go to that, because we haven't heard their full explanation. We've heard, maybe a dozen different messages from the president himself, but we haven't heard their legal argument. Why is this not impeachable, and why do they say that he didn't do what the Democrats say that he did? And we haven't heard that. So you've seen people, the Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, really looking to see what they say.
But quickly, do his supporters really need to hear that? Or to your earlier point, though, it's not about his supporters, it's about those undecideds, perhaps.
Yeah, and there's really only a few senators that this will matter to, right? It's only about 4 or 5 senators that we're waiting to see. Remember, we pretty much know what's going to happen in this trial. What we're waiting to see is whether this trial will be prolonged with witnesses. That could get messy for the president if it is, and so that's really the big question this week. Will there be witnesses or not?
Okay, Anita Kumar, I look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.
Thank you.